Sitting in the passenger seat, I gave my husband a side-eye from beneath furrowed brows, squinting at the sun slanting through the windshield. He drove north in silence, window sealed, as we wound through the paved streets. Pleasantly warm, if a bit stifling. Neither of us bothered to adjust anything. Too stubborn to use the air conditioning, too lazy to tap the power window switch. We turned into a neighborhood full of small yards and coordinated houses. Superfluous, yet prettyish. Without ever leaving the residential streets, we rolled into a narrow parking lot pressed up against a fenced playground. Laughter and shrill toddler screams clipped the air while parents, unbothered, scrolled their phones or chatted in loose circles. We slid past them and followed the sidewalk as it curved behind the houses and down the hill. At the base, Johnston Lake appeared, quiet, contained, waiting. In the suburbs, this is called a lake. In the country, it's called a pond, a fishing hole. Without conversation, we walked to the metal ADA fishing dock. A cool breeze met us as we stepped beneath the canopy. A wide opening in the middle framed the stalked water. Small fish skimmed the surface searching for food, while toddlers learned in real time that guardians of childhood had abandoned the tasks. Humans now offer food with lines attached. Leaving the platform, we turned right and began to walk the wide sidewalk that circles the lake. Along the near shore, fishermen dotted the bank. Contrary to popular belief, fishermen aren't quiet. At least, not here. Tales traded across the pond were met with raucous laughter. We paused to watch the water, rippling, shimmering, and tamed. A group of ducks glid through like an afterthought. We continued on, finding the left side of the trail more interesting. Leaves gathered around the ankles of a row of bare trees. The small cluster opened onto a quiet field, spacious, anchored by a magnificent crabapple tree. Voices faded as the trail curved behind the lake. The atmosphere shifted, quieter, softer, peaceful. A tree-covered hill rose beside us with 3 pines at its crown. We turned our attention back to the water. Here the shore was kept neat, almost formal, turf clipped into crisp boundaries, and a few surviving reeds trimmed into polite islands of green. Someone clearly wanted order, symmetry, a clean line for the homes overlooking the water. But nature doesn't work in straight lines. It frays, sprawls, and knits the banks together with roots, not aesthetics. Without those deep-rooted plants, the soil loosens a little more each season, slipping quietly into the water. What was sculpted for beauty now demands constant correction. Mowers, trimmers, blowers, an endless choreography to maintain an illusion. A wilder shoreline would have held itself, doing the work quietly, the way nature intended long before we decided we could improve on it. The trail crossed 2 wooden bridges. The first was pale and gently arched over the water beside a line of layered limestone riprap, holding firm. These stones absorb the push of waves and lock the bank in place, giving reeds and small plants a chance to return. We paused at the lookout in the middle of the bridge. Here, away from the chatter and lawn edges, it was finally a lake. The second bridge was darker and smaller, skimming over the lake's overflow. This inlet formed a world of its own. The water shifted from clear blue to mossy green, the air thick with the scent of algae. Birds darted between the trees, crowding the shoreline, their calls echoing in the enclosed space. Here, nature lived. Here, life carried on without supervision. The final curve led us back to the beginning of the trail, but something in us had shifted. We had stepped outside our comfort zone, visiting a suburban lake out of curiosity, and instead found a quiet kind of truth. Peace, it turns out, can be found anywhere, if you choose to look for it. Days later, the walk still lingers with me. I keep thinking about the far shore, the one that was left to its own devices. Life rose up there in a way that couldn't along the tidy edges. Even the smallest, untrimmed corner was alive with birds, insects, and movements. It made me wonder why we worked so hard to straighten out what wants to bend, to control what was designed to hold us. We call ourselves caretakers, yet sometimes care is nothing more than allowing the world to be what it already knows how to be.